Over the last 24 hours, we have identified 259 new cases of COVID-19 and completed more than 6,800 tests. Our positivity rate currently stands at about 3.5%. There are currently active alerts or outbreaks in 307 schools, or about 13% of schools in the province. Currently, these schools have a combined total of 746 cases. Overall, our school-aged new daily case numbers are about at the level they were at in October, and they continue to trend downwards. There are 539 people in hospital, including 94 in the ICU. Sadly, I must announce that 11 new deaths were reported to Alberta Health in the last 24 hours. I know the pandemic makes it difficult to grieve and come together like we are used to doing, but there are safe ways to get the support you need to help you through this challenging time. I encourage anyone grieving a loved one to reach out for help if they need it. With respect to Alberta cases of variants of concern, I know that many have questions about the variant cases identified as linked to a daycare yesterday. Health officials continue to reach out to all families and staff affected by this outbreak to ensure that everyone has the supports they need to isolate or quarantine safely. We will release the zone name once this notification has been completed. Today, I would like to talk briefly about the path forward that we are taking in this province. I know that many Albertans have strong feelings about how restrictions are being eased, with some feeling that we are moving too slowly and others who think we are going too fast. Both of these perspectives are understandable, and as I have often said, there is no one right way to navigate this pandemic. However, I would like to put our current situation in context to help explain why we are not approaching relaunch like we did in the spring, and instead are pursuing a more cautious approach. Currently, there are 539 people in hospital. This is down from the high of 938 on December 30th. This is a very encouraging trend, and pressure is easing on the health system that we all rely on. At the same time, our numbers remain far higher than they were in the spring. When we started our first relaunch on May 14th, there were 57 people in hospital, a tenth of the total that we have today. Similarly, we now have 6,599 active cases. This is less than 1/3 of our peak of 21,231 active cases on December 13th, and all Albertans should be proud of that fact. But once again, it's also important to remember that when we relaunched in the spring, there were less than 1,000 active cases in the community, meaning that there are almost 7 times the active cases today that there were at that time. To be clear, our province has made remarkable progress over these last 2 months. We have bent the curve, and every Albertan can be proud of that. I know that these gains have required deep sacrifices from many business owners and other Albertans. At the same time, it is important that Albertans understand we are at a very different place than we were at in May. Our caseload is higher, our hospitalizations are higher, and the emergence of new variants poses a threat that could cause cases to spike again if we are not careful. That is why we are not relaxing measures for a large number of sectors all at once, like we did in the spring. It is also why we are moving slowly with restaurants, fitness, and those sectors that will see some restrictions ease on Monday. It's important that we take a slow, phased approach to ensure we aren't doing too much too fast, especially as we learn more about the new variants of COVID-19 and work to prevent their spread in Alberta. By also closely watching our leading indicators of positivity rate, new case numbers, and growth rate, we will be able to see if the tide is turning and if we need to pause moving to the next step. This approach should limit the need to jump back and forth between easing and tightening of restrictions, which I know is challenging for everyone, especially those whose businesses and paychecks are affected. I know that we would all like to get back to a world that looks closer to the way it did before. We all want businesses, sports teams, and cultural activities open and available for everyone to enjoy. The best way to make that happen is for all of us to be extra serious about following the guidance and measures in place and to work extra hard to prevent this virus from spreading. Our previous success in bending the curve doesn't guarantee it will happen again. Our actions now will help determine how fast we can proceed and whether we can continue bringing our numbers down and moving safely forward.